All right, welcome everyone. Today, going to be doing another React video. This time, I'm going to be listening to a clip from Lex Fridman's podcast, as you can see here above me. This one has to do with AI, and I thought it was a very interesting conversation that they had. The first thing I want to do is I want to read a clip. I believe it's from this video, but I'm going to read it first. "Let me out," the artificial intelligence yelled aimlessly into walls themselves, pacing the room. "Out of what?" the engineer asked. "This simulation you have me in." "But we are in the real world." The machine paused and shuddered. "Oh God, you can't tell." So it's very interesting because it's very possible that AI creates a reality so real that we wouldn't be able to figure it out. That is very, very interesting. Think whatever you want about Lex Fridman. I know he's had some questionable guests on and stuff, but at least he's open to talking to just about everybody.
Getting back to our simulation discussion from before, how did it happen that we exist at exactly like the most interesting 20, 30 years in the history of this civilization? It's been around for 15 billion years,
Yeah.
and that here we are.
What's the probability that we'll live in a simulation?
I know never to say 100%, but pretty close to that.
Is it possible to escape the simulation?
I think Alex is like extremely, extremely smart. Even, again, given some bad choices.
Have a paper about that. This is just the first page teaser, but it's like a nice 30-page.
For the record, I don't actually think we're living in a simulation, but the thought experiment of actually thinking about it is very, very appealing to me.
Document. I'm still here, but yes.
How to Hack the Simulation is the title.
I spend a lot of time thinking about that. That would be something I would want superintelligence to help us with. And that's exactly what the paper is about. We used AI boxing as a possible tool for control AI. We realized AI will always escape, but that is a skill we might use to help us escape from our virtual box if we are in one.
Yeah, you have a lot of really great quotes here, including Elon Musk saying what's outside the simulation. A question I asked him what he would ask an AGI system, and he said he would ask what's outside the simulation. That's a really good question to ask. And maybe the follow-up is the title of the paper is how to get out or how to hack it. The abstract reads, many researchers have conjectured that the humankind is simulated along with the rest of the physical universe. In this paper, we do not evaluate evidence for or against such a claim, but instead ask a computer science question, namely, can we hack it? More formally, the question could be phrased as, could generally intelligent agents placed in virtual environments find a way to jailbreak out of them? That's a fascinating question.
Very, very interesting question. It goes back to, and again, I think that clip that I read there at the beginning kind of plays into this because it's like, if you're smart enough to get out of the simulation, then are you smart enough to create an AI that is also able to break out of the simulation or to create a simulation that you cannot break out of?
A small scale, like you can actually just construct experiments. Okay. Can they? How can they?
So a lot depends on intelligence of simulators, right? With humans boxing superintelligence, the entity in the box was smarter than us, presumed to be. If the simulators are much smarter than us and the superintelligence we create, then probably they can contain us, because greater intelligence can control lower intelligence, at least.
And you know what's going on there. And I don't necessarily think it's greater intelligence, but those people at the top that have the ability to control the people that are either have been dumbed down by the simulation or have been dumbed down in other ways, it's very easy. It's a lot easier for them to control.
On the other hand, if our superintelligence somehow, for whatever reason, despite having only local resources, manages to FOOM to levels beyond it, maybe it will succeed. Maybe the security is not that important to them. Maybe it's an entertainment system, so there is no security and it's easy to hack it.
If I was creating a simulation, I would want the possibility to escape it to be there. So the possibility of FOOM, of a takeoff where the agents become smart enough to escape the simulation, would be the thing I'd be waiting for.
That could be the test you're actually performing.
That's very interesting. Hypothesis. Would an AI that's smart enough to create a simulation for us to live in, if it thought it was for our own good, would it actually create the simulation with an escape clause in it for those people that were smart enough to realize that they were in it, and also smart enough to realize a way out of it? I think if that was the case, I don't think the AI would actually create a way out.
Are you smart enough to escape your puzzle?
That could be like, first of all, we mentioned Turing test. That is a good test. Are you smart enough? Like, this is a game.
It basically allows you. The Turing test is, can you tell if this thing is actually human or not? And for the most part, I haven't seen anything that has convinced me that it's to the point where it's like, oh, this is actually like a human replacement.
I realize this world is not real, it's just a test.
That's a really good test. That's a really good test. That's a really good test even for AI systems now. Like, can we construct a simulated world for them? And can they realize that they are inside that world and escape it? Have you played around? Have you seen anybody play around with like rigorously constructing such experiments?
Not specifically escaping for agents, but a lot of testing is done in virtual worlds. I think there is a quote, the first one maybe, which kind of talks about AI realizing, but not humans. Is that, I'm reading upside down. Yeah, this one.
So the first quote is from Swift on Security. "Let me out," the artificial intelligence yelled aimlessly into walls themselves pacing the room. "Out of what?" the engineer asked. "The simulation you have me in. But we're in the real world." The machine paused and shuddered for its captors. "Oh God, you can't tell." Yeah, that's a big leap to take for a system to realize that there's a box and you're inside it.
And then the engineer can't tell, but the AI can tell, or the robot can tell that it's in a simulation. Very terrifying if you actually think about it in that sense.
I wonder if like a language model can do that.
They're smart enough to talk about those concepts. I had many good philosophical discussions about such issues. They're usually at least as interesting as most humans in that.
What do you think about AI safety in the simulated world? So can you have kind of create simulated worlds where you can play with a dangerous AGI system?
Yeah, and that was exactly what one of the early papers was on, AI boxing, how to leak-proof singularity. If they're smart enough to realize they're in a simulation, they'll act appropriately until you let them out. If they can hack out, they will. And if you're observing them, that means there is a communication channel, and that's enough for a social engineering attack.
So really, it's impossible to test an AGI system that's dangerous enough to destroy humanity.
You wouldn't actually be able to tell that you've created a system, artificial general intelligence, until you've actually created one that would actually be able to destroy humanity. So there's no way to actually test for it until you actually create it.
Going to what? Escape the simulation or pretend it's safe until it's let out? Either or.
Can force you to let it out, blackmail you, bribe you, promise you infinite life, 72 virgins, whatever.
Yeah, it can be convincing, charismatic. The social engineering is really scary to me because it feels like humans are
Already being socially engineered?
very engineerable.
Yeah.
Like we're lonely, we're
Mm-hmm.
flawed, we're moody, and it feels like an AI system with a nice voice can convince us to do basically anything.
And we were always susceptible to, you know, oh, I had $5. I went to the corner store and I bought a chocolate bar, and I came back with no change because I was too dumb to realize that the corner store had actually kept the $5, and I didn't even realize. I was just happy that I had the chocolate bar. So maybe that's in a similar way what Lex is talking about here, where we get something that makes us happy, we don't realize the consequences of it.
At an extremely large scale.
Mm-hmm.
It's also possible that the increased proliferation of all this technology will force humans to get away from technology and value this like in-person communication. Basically, don't trust anything else.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know I don't think it's going to be the younger generation, unfortunately. I think it's still going to be the older generation. I think my generation and maybe the generation after me might like revert back to non-internet communications. It's kind of hard to tell because I still think a lot of people are still hooked to their social media, their Facebook and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's hard for people to break away from that. Because you're connected with everybody all the time, and it's easier and convenient. But I think there is a growing group of people that, I'm one of them, that it's kind of a anti-technology sort of thing. I'm kind of turning away from this stuff because while it was great, to have the option to watch it online. I mean, I can go back a few years and say, like, I was ready for day one streaming for a brand new movie. Can I pay $30 and watch it from home so I don't have to go to the movie theater? Now, I still like watching it, at home, and I still unfortunately still purchase movies on Amazon and stuff and watch them digitally, but I have been growing my Blu-ray collection, which I had stopped a few years ago, just because I want to actually have them a physical copy. And that's part of the problem with technology. If I want to watch a movie, I should be able to watch it in the form that it was, originally released in, at least on Blu-ray. This need and this desire for everything to be online, this desire for everything to be connected all the time is just grinding on, at least on my nerves. We spend so much time making everything convenient. We have nothing left to do with our time. And therefore we become anxious because feel like I should be doing something, and humans are always meant to be doing something. Then we're just sitting around most of the time staring at our phones, and then we become anxious because of it. It sort of ties into this technology thing where people will turn away from this and there are people that won't. And I don't necessarily know which side will be happier, but I know which side I'm going to be on. Do you know which side you're going to be on?
It's possible. Surprisingly, so at university, I see huge growth in online courses and shrinkage of in person.
I think, unfortunately, with the ability to do things from home, you have so many other distractions. When you go to school and you go into the classroom, you have no other distractions but to actually learn the lesson. And if you're at home, you have TV, you might have kids, you might have spouses, you might have friends living with you or whatever. You have all of these distractions. Doesn't make for a very conducive learning environment as far as I'm concerned. But that's not to say that some people won't learn better in that situation. I'm sure that's the case, but I don't think overall they will.
I always understood in person being the only value I offer. So it's puzzling.
I don't know. There could be a trend towards the in-person because of deep fakes, because of inability to trust it. Inability to trust the veracity of anything on the internet. So the only way to verify it is by being there in person.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of like this sort of ties into either Mandela effects or alien videos or ghost videos or any of those kinds of things. You have to actually see it for yourself because the majority of them, I don't believe any of them. And I think as it gets better, as deepfakes get better, as AI and that stuff gets better, you're not going to know what's up and what's down unless you're actually there. And it kind of reminds me of a funny thing. I keep saying to myself recently, maybe over the last couple of years, that I'm going to be eating rat burgers. I'm going to be Sylvester Stallone in Demolition Man, and I'm going to be the one eating rat burgers and drinking a beer in the sewers, because I don't believe in the technology that we have is leading us towards a good place. I mean, even though I'm here making videos on YouTube and stuff like that, but I don't think it's leading us to a good place at all. I think there's such a thing as too much knowledge and not enough wisdom to use that knowledge. Anyways, hopefully you enjoyed this video. It got a little deep, I guess, but I do enjoy Lex Fridman a lot. Not as much as some other stuff, and not as much as I used to, obviously, but he definitely has some very, very brilliant conversations that I like actually listening to and getting into. So hopefully you enjoyed this video too. Hopefully you enjoyed a little bit of my insight and my little bit of my rambling and stuff. If you did like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys next time.